faces, or are you going to use a lot more of the main slide in there?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Yeah. All right.
It's our trial run.
Yeah. So we should be live at this point. So start looking or refreshing the page and see if we can find it to share.
Yep, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah. Just give me a second to start sharing that.
Shared to your profile. Looks like we're good.
All right, you're there. Cool.
I think so. It didn't show me. It didn't change anything, but
cool. Max just liked it too. All right, so he sees it already. Yep, I see that you shared it. Christian, did you see it come on?
Yeah, I'm trying to share it.
Cool.
I think I shared it. Got it.
Yeah, so
awesome.
you can also share a story as well. Cool.
All right, so
good to go.
All right, let's do this. How do we get the slides up? Slides. Show slides.
present, probably the present button down there.
Present. There's a lot of things here. Oh, that's just Akash. This group layout. Technical difficulties. This is awesome.
Do you need help?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
There. Yeah. How'd you do that? Okay, cool.
Click the
All
button.
right. We're here. Hello, Christian Harding. Thank you for joining our live. So we wanted to do this live stream, Realtor Roundtable. Everyone on this panel, we're partners in the real estate industry. We work together between Arizona and actually, we have Christian here. He's in the Vegas market. And we wanted to just kind of chat around some stats that were interesting to us, that are kind of peculiar. And we were actually going to have a live discussion about them, not just to explain them, but also kind of digest them as a team, what we're going to do with these stats, how are we going to advise our buyers and sellers, and all the above, right? Right, everyone?
Yes.
Right.
So, all right. So luckily, Akash was able to put some of these stats together. So I would like to get started. Akash, why don't you get us started on what we're seeing from the recent past?
Sure. So this is pretty much from about 2 days ago. I pulled these numbers. Just these are what I'm going to call the key stats of what you want to see week to week, or even across the months, to see what our market is doing in terms of supply and demand. Right, what really drives our pricing in the Phoenix market here. So let's just take a look at active listings first. You can see that we're sitting a little over 20,000 active listings. I have a great graph on active listings that we'll take a look at next. But right now, you can see that we're a little over 20,000 active listings. From a month ago, we're sitting at about 19,000. And you can see that we've just climbed up from there. But prior to that, it was much more rapid in increase. And, I'll just wait for the graph on the next page to really look at that.
Okay.
Looking at under contract, so what's moving, tracking our demand side of things, it's gone down a little bit over the last month, which is understandable given what interest rates have been doing, hitting the sevens and stuff like that. So the fact that we have about 7,400 under contract right now, used to be a little bit higher last month. 3 months ago, it looked around the same. And then prior to that, we obviously started the year, or, first quarter of the year, you were looking more like 11,000, 12,000, 10,000, that kind of range.
Man, we broke 20,000. Like, it just happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're finally there. So let's look at pricing next. So these bottom two squares in the right corners, sales price and then average sold dollar per square foot. So you can see both of those are down. We're sitting at about 530,000, and that's including condos, townhouses, and all single family houses across Maricopa County, Pinal, and Yavapai in there as well. Overall, you're still up 8% in terms of appreciation if you look at this time last year. So what else? Sold dollar per square foot. It's the same story right over there. You're up 9.5% from last year. So you're in that 8 to 9% range if you're looking at appreciation from October of last year to right now.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, one thing I noticed on the average per sold square footage, I mean, I think, where did we peak? Like 304, 302?
I believe it's 305.
305.
Like 20 cents or something like that. Or it's like just 305 or 306, just under 306.
Right. So like the average price per square foot has dropped quite a bit in the last few months.
All right. And that was just back in May and end of May, start of June kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been like 3 months, 4 months where you've seen this drop in that place.
Yeah. 10%.
Yeah, so this is just putting data to the numbers to what we've seen anecdotally, everyone in our market. Mm-hmm. Christian, have you kind of seen the same thing in the market out there as well in terms of pricing?
I would say so. I mean, our pricing, in terms of pricing, I mean, our average price per home right now at the moment is in the 420s. Our inventory has tripled in the past 40 days. So, I mean, we're kind of, in a way, a sister market to what you guys are experiencing. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, I think we're feeling the same effect. So.
Yeah, gotcha. Very similar market, like quick drops here and there on certain things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on the area, especially around town. Yeah.
So one of the things that we're seeing right now, I mean, now more than ever, is the difference in like zip codes here in Las Vegas. The uglier homes, unfortunately, they're sitting on the market for a lot longer. And it's just the prettier, the nicer, cleaner looking homes, the updated homes are really like, selling in a faster time frame. But more inventory in the market, buyers are getting paid through that. That's what it is, right? So now more than ever, we're trying to see that boundary, that division. Compared to a year ago, 2 years ago, where regardless if it almost looked like a fixer-upper, if it was completely outdated, it would still receive multiple offers. It would still just buy off the shelves. Now it's just not the market.
Yeah. I mean, and that's like pretty consistent, right? Like, I mean, when there was a huge inventory shortage, there was no pickiness at all, right? It was just like everything's going to sell. But like now, there's more options. People don't have to give into, just kind of almost like outrageous terms, I would say, overall.
So, Christian, out of curiosity, are you guys actually seeing more listings than like usual for this time of year, or is it things are sitting longer? Because I know here in Phoenix, we actually have had, in the last, September through now, it's the same amount of listings hitting the market as we do traditionally. But the reason inventory is up is because things are stacking because the buyer demand is down.
No, we're seeing for the time of the year, like would say slightly higher than what we usually would see. But the reason why we're feeling like it's a lot more listings is for that exact reason, that a lot more inventory is just sitting. So
yeah.
So Christian mentioned cleaner, nicer, prettier homes are moving fast. Maria, are you seeing that in the luxury side of things as well?
Yeah, a luxury, above the 3 million price point is actually still moving quick and holding on. I mean, that's the only kind of price range around here that's still appreciating, that we're still seeing prices, go up. But luxury usually is a little bit delayed when it comes to market shifts. So who knows? But right now, luxury is still going.
Yeah. Christian Harding on our chat over here, I say the last name just to differentiate between the Christian we got on the call right now. He says lot of seller IPCs right now. IPCs is the term for interested party contributions. Mm-hmm. So it's like
concessions.
Seller concessions. And that's a great comment to bring up because I actually have a great chart graph that's coming up in 2 slides that shows exactly that. So you made the comment and I got exactly the graph to back you up, my friend. So thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah. He says cash investors are putting offers and then bailing on properties close to end of inspection periods. So I mean I think we're going to talk about
the wholesale and flip market, right? Like if they're not getting a sleep enough or they can't find an end buyer, which is becoming a lot harder for everybody, right? Whether you're wholesaling or on the traditional side of things, finding a buyer for things is just harder.
Yeah.
I'm going to take us back to the stats for a second here.
Yeah.
So we just talked about price. Days on market, you're seeing this is also a great stat to have for our, I share this with our clients for folks who've been thinking about listing. I just listed a home last week and letting them know that your sold days on market are, getting close to that 2 month mark, right? It's a month and a half here in terms of sold. And then your actives, what's sitting on the market is staying on there for longer than 2 months on average right now.
Yeah, I'm telling sellers, if you want to sell by January, it needs to go on now.
Yeah,
That's
So
exactly
be prepared.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a
Be
client
prepared for
who
60
we
days.
just did a coming soon for 3 days. I went live with the coming soon on Saturday or Sunday, something like that, and then just today we went actually active with the listing. We still don't have interior pictures. We have all the exterior pictures done, drone footage, twilight, everything done just right for the marketing that we need to do. But they're still moving into their new house, but we want to get the house active on market right now because this is when things are, this is the time is of the essence essentially. So
Yeah.
yeah, we just got it on. We are willing to do showings. There's a showing actually right now as of 1 minute ago is when they were supposed to show up. So today is the first day. We've already got a showing, which is great for this market in their respective area, especially. So we're just trying to get it open, trying to get it ready. And as all of the new buyers or any prospective buyers come in, I'm also relaying the message, hey, just to let you know, the sellers are in the process of moving out. So you're about to see some chaos and some boxes, but they will have the place professionally cleaned and the interior fully painted, ready for your move-in, just so they know that everything will be ready for them once they do go into contract. So yeah.
Perfect. So
Yeah.
Pushing on through our slide here. Skip that top one or 52. That's an old stat, but just looking at sales per month and talking about demand. And so this is also sharing with sellers, right? You see 6,100 sales per month, and just 3 months ago it was 8,400 a month. So when you're talking about demand being, chopped down by 25 to 30%, the stat is right now about 30%. Decrease in sales and market. So you're looking at buyer demand has been cut by basically a third.
Right. And I mean, rates have gone up, and they've gone up, not just gone up, they've gone up fast. So it's created a situation where I think the market hasn't digested that shift completely. And I think we're kind of seeing that now, but I think the coming months, it's going to take a couple more months for the market to really realize the ramifications of such a quick shift. So,
and you look at also, this is a very almost microscopic view in the fact that you're only looking at interest rates and houses. But if you consider what's going on a macro level, like globally or even nationally, it almost paints almost a simple, a different picture at the same time. Those have gone up in response to what, right? Inflation out of control, upcoming R word,
yeah.
recession fading in. And so there's ideas around people's job security is coming up, right?
Yeah.
I think Sven mentioned it previously as well, is that you have elections and things like that coming in. So there's a lot of macro factors outside of just what are rates doing and what are house prices doing.
Right.
Also, actually, I was just sitting down with a friend for lunch just about a couple hours ago. He's a financial planner and advisor for a big firm, not going to name names, but they're talking about laying off a lot of their staff, consultants, all kinds of people who are not really producing right now because they're, as financial advisors, are looking at shutting the doors down a little bit and kind of having a little shutter period because they're seeing some of the writing on the walls that might happen in the next few months.
Right. And obviously our industry first, so mortgage, title, lenders, everyone that's real estate ancillary services, You'll probably see a lot of realtors exit the business too, but you've already seen layoffs with these large companies, especially from the mortgage and title side.
Right.
That, as well as the government employment ratings just came out, and the ask for employment for companies just went down by a whole ton. So nobody's really hiring at the moment. All of a sudden, everybody's just kind of standing still. So that's very interesting as well.
Hey guys, so to add to what you guys are saying, I mean, I have a question that I'm going to ask kind of from like a consumer standpoint. I kind of have my own answer on this, but I figured it'd be important for the people watching live, a specific answer from every single one of you as a professional in the industry. What do you tell these people, right, potential buyers that are on the fence right now about potentially buying with, seeing the high interest rates, and then also with that figure of like, hey, where's the economy headed? Elections coming up, you got all this outside noise, right? What do you guys tell? Like I said, I have my personal answer that I tell my clients, but I definitely would want to hear every single one of you guys' opinion, because I feel like that could probably, give the consumer, different
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling people, it's look at your personal situation first. How secure is your job? If you're not worried about that, then that's one thing. If you're looking to buy a house that you're going to be in for the next 3 to 5 years, it could be a safe bet. That especially here in Phoenix and Scottsdale, the amount of companies that have moved here, the economic growth that we've had over several years, that's been enough to sustain, how many people moving here for jobs and that sort of thing, that, Arizona is not going to all of a sudden become an undesirable, uneconomically savvy place.
Right.
So, look at your personal situation. And if you can, feel comfortable with a mortgage payment at whatever interest rate it is now, and you're going to hold on to this house, and this is your long-term 3 to 5+ year home, do it. There's always a chance to refinance. If you buy and prices drop, okay, then you're going to wait it out. If prices go up, cool, you got a deal. If interest rates go up, great, you got in while it's low. If they go down, cool, you refinance. So I think the number one thing to look at is your personal situation first, and then the rest is figure outable.
That's one thing that I always talk to all of my clients about. Are first off, what is your personal environment? What is going on with yourself and your family and everything? And then also, then you can bring into that what is happening in the Arizona market overall, because there's a lot of things happening versus like maybe house prices might come down a little bit in the near future, but they're going to go nowhere but up, because the semiconductor industry, the microchip industry, and multiple other industries are building billions of dollars of plants all around the valley. And so our infrastructure is going to do nothing but expand, because we have nowhere to go but up, because of the amount of employees that we need to staff these industries and to staff these plants. It's thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. So the ingrowth of that we've seen in Arizona, I think in the last few years, is not gonna. It might slow down in the near future, but as soon as these plants are done, it's then going to speed right back up.
Right.
I think that's a good point on that both of you guys have made on the length of. That's the other thing. It's like, hey, do you think you're going to buy and then sell within 1 year? You're going to have a bad time. But if you're intending on owning this property for longer than 5 years, then what's the issue there?
Yeah.
Right?
What makes sense for you and your family? Yeah. And can you pay for it? Can you hold it? Can you make this happen with your job?
The other part is to whatever the market value is, unless you really, really love it, let's get a discount going on it. Let's bake in a 10% discount on something, so that even if things do drop a little bit, like you're cushioning that as much as you can. You're mitigating that as much as you can while achieving these other goals of whether it's home ownership, you're getting out of a rental or moving out of whatever space, back to the classic reasons of why do people buy and sell. Because you've had this speculative market and this rapidly appreciating market in which everyone can make money in 6 months, 10 months, 1 year. All that's gone, it's back to, move up buyers. Why are you selling? Why are you buying? It's because life situations more than I'm going to make a quick buck over a year.
Yep.
And I think that hits it on the head, and it's consistent with Christian Harding is chiming in saying average loan time in AZ is 3.3 years. So like in this environment, the one thing I always go back to, Christian, is what is your money doing right now? Right. So like it depends on who you're talking to and who's asking that question. Now like if you're in a situation where you're renting and your prospect is to rent in the coming future, then it's a different conversation than someone who's sitting in a house right now, and then depending on when they bought that house, how much equity they have or don't have. And again, tying it to what Akash says, what life changes are demanding them to make some kind of change, right, in terms of their housing situation. So it's very specific to that person and that individual. As like corny as that sounds, it's like it is very specific to that person. But it's kind of a catch-22, because in every environment where something gives, something takes, right? So like the interest rates are up, but as we're going to look at some of the stats, right? I think there's a lot of pressure coming to the seller now, and then that's the way we have to advise our buyers. Like, this is where you get the value add on the sticker price. This is where you get the value add on more choices and all this stuff, and then the vice versa. If we have a seller on board that we're working with, we have to anticipate these new pressures. We can't just tell them what they want to hear and hope for the best, right? We have to anticipate what the buyer side of the game is going to now do to them when they come to market, right? So we have to kind of analyze it and just be ready for which way it's going to go, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, to that, I'm reminding people too that, after you've done your analysis of your own personal situation, everything's good. That like last year, we didn't have any of these advantages that buyers have today of, price negotiations, keeping all contingencies, seller concessions, all that kind of stuff that was non-existent last year. Where some of this stuff, it's like buyers last year were paying 50, 100K, 150K over asking, where it's like they would have killed to have these types of opportunities. Yes, interest rates are much higher than they were, but again, down the road, what do interest rates, if they go up, they're going to go down. It's the name of the game.
Right.
So it's like if you're safe and you feel comfortable in your own personal situation, then it could be a really good time to get in. I mean, a lot of people that invest in real estate and been doing this a long time look at these type of markets as huge opportunities, and things are going on sale. Like, time to cash in.
Opportunity for my client last week. We just closed for him. I know some of you on our weekly calls I've told you about the win that I had last week, but the house was originally listed at $780,000. We bought it for $650,000 with $20,000 on top of that in concessions.
Right.
So
awesome.
That's a big reduction.
I mean, and that's the punchline right now, right? Like, you're gonna get a buffer if you negotiate properly. You're gonna create a buffer for a retraction, contraction, whatever. So if there's a situation where, like, I was planning on being here for 5 to 7 years, but things change and I need to sell and it's only year 3, right? So the best we can do is hedge and mitigate that risk, right? So by negotiating sticker price and really doing what Sven did, you're covering your bases there. And then the other side of the coin is, yes, interest rates are at 7, in the 7s, high 6s, whatever they are right now, right? However, if you structure the deal properly, you can still accomplish an interest rate in the 5%. So you can still capture some of that upside where the pricing makes sense. But it's very important to structure the deal and negotiate the deal properly to make sure that happens.
And we did also work with our lender and got a rate buy down for him and everything as well. So he got a little bit of a point reduction, which honestly is only a couple $100 a year on his payments, but it makes all the difference when the deal is done at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, guys, would you guys agree with what I'm about to say? I think we're truly heading into the real estate market specifically is heading into a place where every market or every city in the country is going to feel it differently, just because I feel like the cities that, for example, like Phoenix, Vegas, certain cities, they're just that are not fully developed. They have so much more potential to grow. might not feel the shift as much just because people continue to come in. There's opportunity. There's a lot of growth expansion compared to on the other side of the scale where you have a city where that's completely developed, like everything's built out. Like some cities, for example, in California, just fully developed. Everything's top dollar. I feel like cities like those might feel it a little more. So I feel like that's kind of where the market is headed. Where like the boundaries, you're going to see it even more like the cities.
Right. And Christian Harding is chiming in for us a little to kind of help us with the numbers we're chatting about. He's saying jumbo loans still in the low sixes, high fives, right? So, for those that are like watching, the jumbo loan limits, the conventional limits are pretty consistent. Some counties are a little different than others. In the Phoenix market, I believe it's still at 647,000. Some people are kind of lending on a higher limit in anticipation of that limit changing next year. So, so that loan limit is what determines a lot of the stuff where it becomes a conventional loan or a jumbo loan, and that's going to change, lending guidelines, the type of things they need to approve you for that, and pricing, right? So, all those things are a factor in depending on what you're looking at and what you're buying. So
we're
thanks,
already
Christian,
starting to
for
see
that.
lenders, come out with programs that are trying to overcome some of the hurdles that are associated with higher interest rates, and lenders are getting creative, and some talks of like loosening FHA guidelines and stuff like that to kind of start to help buyers out here.
Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? Like, what is your guys' take before we go into the other slides on, I think the value and the partnership between the real estate agent and a lender going into this new environment based on what we were dealing with in the last 6 months. Has any of that changed for you guys? Yeah. In this, like let's say the last month or so?
100%.
Absolutely.
I feel like I've had to be way more, I always, in the past several years when it's been a hot seller's market, I tell buyers and, lender is my partner. We're going to work together to get things done. Communication is key, which is also true. But more than ever, I feel like I need to be in the know of more like, numbers and stuff like that to like kind of be more of a team player and making sure that my client's going to be protected and, things aren't going to change and that sort of thing. And so, I think more than ever, it's time, we have to be on the same team and understanding a little bit more out of our wheelhouse in the lending world, and lending world needs to understand our wheelhouse a little bit better too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's one thing I see is the lender side is starting to feel the pressure a lot more than anybody else faster because of the lack of refis and purchases and all kinds of things. So
how many lunches do you guys get invited a week with lenders?
Exactly. So once all of your lenders that you've ever done with start to hit you up every other day or so, I'm like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? How are you doing? What can we do for you?
Right.
That's when you know that the lender side is changing for sure, and their relationships need to change, and the relationships that we have with them will then now grow and blossom and flourish with the systems that we can then grow with our lender partners.
Right. And frankly,
that wasn't a dig at lenders asking us to lunch. Sorry, lenders out there.
Sorry to all your lenders. Yeah, but
it's like you said, you need somebody who's paying attention in lockstep with you for the client's best interest, and understands what the market is doing, what's happening with it, and then can react fast enough to be like, "Hey, there's a dip in rates, it's lock," or "Hey, this thing is about to go." Like, you know what I mean? Like paying attention in the way that's going to benefit you, the client, and then now we all look good.
Right. Yeah, and having somebody, exactly, on the pulse, like almost second by second, hour by hour, knowing the Fed just did this like 30 minutes ago. We need to do something now. Something like that's like one of my guys who will bring in insights to the market within, like if I'm under contract on something, he's going to let me know if something changes within a half hour of it changing.
Right.
Just to make sure that we're all on the same page and all getting the best rates as fast as we can. Yeah.
And let's be kind of real. Like, lenders have the same goal as we do for the first time in a long time, right? Like a lot of lenders were very much focused on one aspect of their business, which was refinance. and that's a different segment than new purchase. And as real estate agents, we're looking to service sellers and buyers, right? And for the first time, it's much more important to service and focus on a new buyer over refinancing, because refinancing as a whole market is pretty much evaporated. So for the first time, we're like aligned in terms of who we're seeking to serve, right? So that alignment now is going to be very important going forward in the coming 6 months, and that's just the market reality, so yep. Let's keep going, Akash. And then Christian Harding chimes in saying good lending partners will help you move your client to the close. So absolutely
100%.
true. Yep, that's true.
Christian on our call brought up a good point earlier, right? About which markets across the country are going to feel kind of an impact.
Yeah.
How hard or not hard, right? And I think to his point, I think anything that moved up extremely rapidly. So whether you look at things in California, like Bay Area, here, especially here, where you saw a 20%, 30% increase in appreciation, that's where I think will come down the most. Like those places will feel the impact the hardest, the quickest.
Yeah.
Well, hence even looking at our local market, we're already seeing that here, Santan Valley, Queen Creek, some of the places that were a bunch of new construction and that blew up so quickly that were kind of the outskirts, they were the first ones to kind of get cold.
Right. So long term, I think Phoenix will be fine based on all the factors that we're talking about, semiconductor jobs, et cetera, like all that growth, right? But short term, you're going to really feel that here, Christian. That's for sure. That's a good point you brought up, and that we're already seeing, the pricing that I talked about in the last slide, where you've seen things come down, $9 a square foot in 1 month, 4.5% in one, in a month's time ish, right? So,
right. So what are we looking at here now, Akash?
Yeah, so this is a days on inventory for the Phoenix area. And the reason I brought this one up is on the last slide I mentioned we're at 73 days of inventory this week. The last time that we were at 73 days of inventory was February 9th, 2019. So February of 2019. So this is, over 3.5 years ago, basically, right? At the time, you can see that the active inventory count was also 18,500. We are at 20,000 with 73 days. Back then, we were at 18,500 at 73 days. Yeah. So
pretty identical.
Yeah, well, in the sense that was still an appreciating market, right? Going up 6% a year, and this is a slightly declining in terms of price market, because your sales are probably. I didn't check number of sales at that time, but I'm assuming it's a little bit higher than what it is today. And so, but you are playing in a market that looks similar to what it was like 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, and it's just been different for so long. The pace and rapid pace that it does cause a little bit of panic for some folks.
And I think that's key there too. I mean, let's be honest, there was nothing normal about 2020 and 2021 as the world as a whole. That these 2% interest rates, 3% interest rates, that wasn't normal. That the insane selling frenzy, seller's market frenzy last year, that wasn't normal. Taking it back to 2018, 2019 levels, that was kind of a normal market. And, I think that our rapid change in the market here is what was surprising and scary and kind of caused such was part of this halt. But, if you look back at numbers, we're pretty in line with 2017, 2018, 2019 before the world changed in 2020.
Right. Yeah. And, I just wanted to chime in real quick as we go into the other numbers. If you're watching this live, please feel free to chime in, ask your questions. We'll answer them live. That's the main priority. And we're kind of just brainstorming as agents how to serve our buyers and our sellers in the current market and the stats, and just kind of sharing it in an open forum. So feel free to do that. And if you catch this video after the live, you can still post your comments in there, and then our team and the people that are participating today can see that and respond for you. So so we're seeing a huge spike in the days of inventory, and then what are we looking at here? The percent of closings.
So
Yeah.
as our commenter earlier mentioned, seller IPC, seller closing costs, seller paid closing costs, assisting for buyers.
Look at that spike into this month.
Yeah, so you can see that June, July, August just shoots up, and you're sitting at September is sitting at 16% of all closings had seller paid closing costs in some form or fashion. If you look back historically, over 2015 through the start of 2020, there it was sitting at on an average 25% of closings had some sort of seller paid closing cost.
Right.
And so very quickly you're rolling back into exactly that type of market. What we were talking about just now, right? February of 2019. You look at this, and that's exactly where we're headed in terms of the amount of seller assistance in terms of closing costs.
Right. Yeah. No, and the seller concession. This is it's back, right? And we're no longer in a seller's type market. And the seller concessions is where you can structure the deal in a way where your out-of-pocket expenses for my clients are going to be minimalized, if not eliminated. And then also, this is where you can get a little bit of help when it comes to the interest rate and whatnot. So we've got a comment from Jennifer. Thanks for joining us. Take it from someone that has been in the markets very long time. No need to panic. This is a great market.
She's the OG.
Yeah. So
Been through it all.
So
Thanks,
interesting. Mom. Maria Moore. Interesting. I wonder what that means.
Yeah, that's kind of the whole point. As long as you're willing to stay in for like that 5 years plus, this is a great market, and in the next few months is only going to get better for investors looking to get in. I think she's right, honestly. So if you're looking to buy, now is the time. If you're ready to buy, and if you're willing to deal with these things and deal with the rates and refinance in a few years, then yeah, absolutely, this is a hot market. This is the time to go.
Right, and it's one of those things when people were saying, "I'm going to wait for the market to come down." This is what that looks like. Like they come down in the function of how they come down. They numbers just don't magically decrease. They decrease through negotiating and repricing and the market coming. That's how it comes down. And that's a function of negotiating and realtors working for you to make that happen. Right. So this is the phase we're in. Christian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think what I believe she said it's a great market. I think the definition, personally in my eyes, my definition of what a great market is right now is that the market is headed to a healthy place, really. Because for the past 2 years we've had crazy sellers market, properties flying off the shelves, lower interest rates. But I mean, Maria Moore, she hit it right on the nail. She hit a good point. Like that's for as much as it's good for us professionals and our production in the industry and the consumer that's available to buy at the time. I mean, long term, how healthy is it for properties and real estate to appreciate at that rate? So properties kind of starting to, the market starting to plateau, level out. I think that's what definition is of a great market. We're headed to a healthy place. We're headed back to where the market was in 2019, 2018. Where it was, if you guys said, an appreciating, healthy market now.
Yeah. I mean, we have to remember last year when houses were getting 40 offers and had 25 buyers for one house, that wasn't a stable or healthy market.
I'll never forget
in another extreme.
Right. And it's one of those things. The challenge becomes we have to manage expectations, right? That you're people that need to sell a house now, you're not going to sell the house in the first 5 days. It's just not the reality anymore. So like the planning of how you sell the house, how long it takes, like Maria, you were talking about earlier, it's a much longer window, right? That process has to start now for 3 months from now to happen. Before it was like, hey, let's not list this thing because we're going to be in escrow by tomorrow. So we want to make sure we want to be in escrow by tomorrow, right? And now it's like, hey, you're not going to be in escrow at all unless, and if you are in escrow, it's going to take on average what, like 50 days, 55 days. Where are we at? So I mean, we can talk about those numbers too, but the window and the expectation has changed, right? So we have to kind of advise our clients accordingly in that way and make sure they're planned and ready for that. To have success, they have to plan in that timeline. So
I also think it's more like kind of to that point where it's never been more important to like have a credible realtor that you trust, because it, for the first time in a few years, listing agents need to work. Does your listing agent have connections? Do they have marketing available? Are they, what credibility do they have when it comes to, getting word out there, getting eyes on listings? Because that's going to be the name of the game, where, listing agents had it easy the past few years.
right.
So, you need to make sure that your agent listing your house has the foundations to get eyes on it. And it's more than just putting it on MLS these days.
Right. And now the competition is like, look, if one buyer walks into this neighborhood and there's 3 identical houses for sale, you as the listing agent has to be the better listing agent to make sure yours sold and not the other one. Right. That wasn't the case before. So, and if someone came in and bought your neighbor's house and not your listing, the question is like, well, why did they buy that one and not ours? What went wrong? What didn't we do right? Right. How did it not work out? Right. So we have to find the buyer now. It's not going to come to us.
I mean, now more than ever, like is like speaking not to you guys, but to the people watching live is pay close attention and be very like particular about the professional you're going to hire to start your home, or you're going to hire to represent you, because it takes more groundwork, it takes more in and outs, more connections. Like Maria Morris, she's right on the nail with the few points she's mentioning. So I think people like us on this, that really take the time to, for example, do things like this to connect with one another in different markets are the ones that are going to stand out. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's talk about the next slide here real quick, Kosh.
Yeah, and I think we got a bunch more slides after this. I think we can maybe do this one and the next one, and I think that we should wrap up after that.
Okay, cool.
Otherwise, we'll push it for like an hour and a half. I can tell.
Yeah. A good 45 minutes is good. So, I mean, let's kind of go through the stats and just kind of like brainstorm and chat. So let's kind of go through these and then let's digest them together. So
yeah, I got a concert, guys, in like an hour. Let's go.
Yeah, that's fair, Sven. This is exactly illustrating the point that we've been chatting about. You look at that the red line is 2022, so this year, and that is, what our listing counts are at. So you can see it reaching up, and it's kind of hitting that plateau mark where you're not seeing a rapid jump in new listings hitting the market or collecting week to week, as you did, week 25, week 26. Those are very large jumps. So that's just reiterating what we've been chatting about. This one was interesting that Armless put out in their stat column. This is Wall Street purchases, and Wall Street is defined as iBuyers, institutional buyers. So think about Open Door, and then think about BlackRock, and then all the other large players, at that scale. What do I want to share here? In August 2021, so August of 2021, they had over 1,700 homes purchased in that month alone. And then this August, so they purchased 601. So a third of what they bought last year in this year. So that's just, confidence and sentiment of the market as a whole, large scale players of where we are headed and where we're going. I'm going to keep us on this one for a second.
Oh, sorry.
Because that's another piece, right? It's like you look at buyer demand, and they are buyers, right? So you look at the number of sales decreasing. This is part of that. And the other part I just wanted to mention is, as rates when rates go back down, which is what people are waiting for, and prices are going down, you get that rates down and prices down function that every buyer in the world is waiting for. And I mean every buyer in the world, right? Well, a friend is waiting for that so they can pick up a house for cheap. So is BlackRock. And then once again, you get into the situation of extremely cheap money of 2%, 3% rates that we had for the last 2 years, where now everyone is buying everything. Well, these guys are waiting for the same opportunity. So when you're waiting for the perfect moment, so are they.
Yeah,
Then you're
that's
competing
a good
against,
point.
competing against billions of dollars once again.
Yeah, I mean, you got to hand it to the iBuyers from the last couple of years. I mean, they were kind of the first, like they were taking some gambles, and they're paying for it now. I heard this morning in August, 77% of open door listing or like open door sales last month were sold at a loss, and like only 23% of open door sales like they made any margin on. So I mean, that's kind of what quote unquote distressed listings look like in 2022.
And not
so
only that,
I
when they get started to buy again, they are in front of the consumer, so they know, and they're way more on the pulse of everything that the Fed and the economy and the government's doing than the consumer is. So when they start buying, everybody else follows suit. So when they start buying again, that will happen.
Right.
Yeah, I even heard an appraiser say the other day that when they are, appraising a house, if any comps are iBuyer comps, they look at those as distressed properties right now.
Wow.
I was going to say, if anyone does appraisal packets, I think we all do here for when you meet an appraiser for your listings, is mark out those ones if they don't use these because they're this. And Open Door is selling at like, I think it's on average like a 13% loss or like a 13% loss on their.
Yeah, they'll crush your sales packet.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The next two slides, we'll burn through these ones quick. It really just is talking about single family and multi-family permits being pulled. Last time you were in a situation like this, home builders decided to just keep on trucking and just build all the houses back in 2004, 2005, even 2006 is kind of like that, right? And then they really pulled off in 07. And that led to that massive oversupply of homes, and then obviously destroying housing prices as a function of a bunch of other things, but that's a piece of it too, right? At this time, 2022, builders are like, yeah, hold up, pull the plug, let's stop building as rapidly. You can kind of see that already. The fact that we're not going to hit anywhere close to what we did. Single permits being pulled in the last 2 years,
right? Which is honestly a good thing. I mean,
yeah.
So, we're not going to run into the same, like the entire neighborhood's for sale and there's one buyer walking around, So.
And then the next slide is the same thing, just on instead of an annual, this is a month-to-month count.
Right.
So you can kind of see it trickle a little more fine-tuned. That's not the word that I was looking for, but it's the word I said. So you can see it really taper off from February of this year, just shot straight down, over the. So just really, I'm looking at the last 3-4 bars on this graph on the right, just to see how much lower it is compared to where it was.
Right.
That said, I just said that for single family houses tapering off. We get it. Plug builders are like, hey, chill out. Multifamily, and when I say multifamily, I'm saying luxury apartment buildings with 100 units or so. Record numbers of those have been pulled in the last year, even in the last month or two. I think there's just the highest number ever.
Right.
So you can feel that, on the streets.
Yeah.
Drive through Scottsdale, McDowell and Scottsdale Road, and see how many are being built out there. Anywhere, even North Phoenix has it.
Right.
I drove through Goodyear, and there were some new apartment complexes in that area. I'm like, where did this come from? So there's a ton of that everywhere right now.
Yeah.
All the new building around Paradise Valley, the whole 51 Carefree. I'm not 51, not Carefree, but the 51 Cactus and Shea Corridor, everything around this entire area is absolutely exploding, especially with the demolition of PV Mall and rebuilding all of those into multi-use complexes on top, businesses on bottom.
Right.
It's going to be insane. So
right. Yeah, I think now more than ever, you know, and we got to do these. I think we should do these like at least like once every 2 weeks, but like we'll try to do it every once a week and kind of really dive into like 2 or 3 stats only. But it's going to be very important, I think, for all of us. I think we can agree to, you know, strategic advice is going to be very important for depending on if you're a seller. You got to know the pressures that are out there now. You can't, you know, we got to change some of the expectations, but we also have to kind of anticipate what we're going to get on the other side of a sale, right? And vice versa, as buyers, you know, we got to figure out how to structure deals properly to position them for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, because, you know, things might go up, things might go down a little bit. And, you know, the best we can do is hedge them for the best case scenario, you know? So, did you guys have anything else you wanted to kind of share or feedback or anything before we head out? I think this was a good first test for us guys, you know, like to kind of come together. You know, we got to do a lot more of these. You know, there's 5 of us here. We're going to get more of our group and stuff like that to kind of join us and, you know, just kind of be available and talk through these stats and make sense of it and give, you know, hopefully the people around us more confidence, right? Because indecision doesn't come from a lack of choices. It comes from a lack of confidence in those choices, right? So hopefully these videos will help kind of, I don't know, for me, there's a lot of noise, right? There's a lot of headlines, there's a lot of clickbait, and I feel like this will be a signal in that noise. And hopefully we help a lot of people that watch this. So
There's a lot of noise right now going on. I feel like,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know,
yeah,
us, even if it's just us 5, we could be that positive noise, that noise that, you know, some of us from being in a negative mind frame to a positive mind frame.
Right.
Be that whoever's watching. So yeah, I think I agree. We could do this at least once every other week, and
Right.
we kind of compact together the Vegas stats and the Arizona stats, sister markets. I think you know, definitely start growing this.
Yeah.
Love it.
Margaritas required next time.
Yeah.
What's that?
There we go.
Margaritas required next time.
Yeah, I think we need liquor for this this kind of episode, you know, from now on, you know. We might have to rebrand Realtor Roundtable or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. The bar.
Market stats and shots.
Yeah. So thank you guys for chiming in and helping, you know, like, you know, I think the more we come together, brainstorm, mastermind around what's happening in the market, it's going to help us too. We got to stay on top of it for, you know, our family, friends, the people that trust us, you know what I mean? So this is going to keep us sharp, I think. So
I also really think if we can be right now, everybody, like if everybody sees a storm coming, kind of is kind of what everybody feels. So if we can not just be the calm before the storm, but also be the calm during the storm and the level head, I think everybody in our organization will continue to thrive and do well.
I'm your anchor, baby. Let's go. Ramnik, we can't hear you talking.
Yeah, you're muted. I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
You gotta take those out.
There.
Great to have audio issues at the very end of the call. So.
At the very end.
Very end. At the end of the call.
No. Yeah, we'll get better and better. But thanks for Jennifer and Christian for you know, chiming in on our video and stuff. Thank you guys. Let's do this again soon. And you know, we just got to keep showing up for our friends, family, and our clients. So,
100%.
All right, everyone, have a good evening.
Sounds good, guys.
All right, see you guys. Yep. Thank you.